Those of you who are watching this from YouTube in the future time, I'm from the past, and we had a lot of issues getting this rolling. I'm learning things about the limits of this program. So there you go. So today's guest is Grunz JB. Here he is, with his entire face.
Yeah, this is not how I wanted you guys to see me. Just so we're clear, like I'm as saddened about this shit as you are. But you know.
Oh my gosh. So Grunz, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody, for those of you who don't know who you are and what it means to be you.
Well, I'm Grunz, real name JB, and I was a raider with BL from, let's see, I think it was like August of 2000 and, what would that been? 2009, I think, through March of 2011, so year and a half-ish, I think. Started right after Old War and rated through Tier 11. And yeah, all-around good guy, very popular member of the guild. A lot of people like me. Were sad when I left. So yeah.
So one of the big things everybody knows you about, and I'm sure people want to get into that, is you were one of the key featured members of the Race to the World First documentary, which you guys can still watch for free until May 1st at racetotheworldfirst.com. There's a link at the bottom of my Twitch. You guys can check that out. So tell us about that. Why don't we get into that? I know a lot of people that's on their minds. Tell us about what it was like during that whole process.
Let's see, I guess where to start. John and Zach had approached Blood Legion about doing a documentary, and I think Blood Legion decided that it was probably a good idea to do a documentary to showcase the guild. And so we were looking for volunteers, and there were not a lot of people that were jumping up and down to be filmed. And so I figured, you know, as a raider who is also good looking and successful, that I would volunteer to, you know, put on a good display for, you know, to rep the raiding scene. And so I was one of the, I believe, 5 people chosen. And so John and Zach came out, I think it was September 2 years-ish ago, and they were out here for a week, and we did some filming, and it was the most time I've spent sitting down in one spot. Even compared to raiding, I think those guys had me in a chair talking for, you know, like 4 hours on end at a time. Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff we talked about. Actually, I think the most disappointing thing about the film to me was just that there was, you know, only whatever 10 minutes of time that could be devoted, when I think they must have like 12 hours of footage. You know, that was stuff that we talked about. But it was fun, and they're great guys. I wish them, you know, all the success in the world moving forward. I'm curious to see what their next project will be. And, you know, just it was a really positive experience, and I'd definitely do it again in a heartbeat.
Now, one of the first things I've noticed is it looks like you've upgraded from your closet, because obviously in the movie you played from your closet. Tell us about what's going on now. Did the film help you, you know, let people know about what you did, so now you're comfortable not playing in the closet? Or what's the deal with that?
Yeah, so when I got filmed, I was sharing a townhouse with a couple other law schoolers. Well, one was my sister, who was also in law school with me, and then another girl that was in our class in law school. And so for the economy of living together, the 3 of us moved in, and the way it was set up was there was a master bedroom downstairs and then 2 bedrooms upstairs. So the 2 girls took the bedrooms upstairs so as not to be, you know, have a creepy living arrangement. And I got the master downstairs. And the problem with that was that the walls in that bedroom were pretty thin, and not for the typical reasons. It's not that I was like banging chicks every weekend and didn't want people to hear it. It was that I knew I was going to be awake till, you know, like 1 or 2 in the morning raiding, and it would be pretty loud for anyone that was, you know, there's a lot of studying that occurs in law school. So, well, the concern was that I would be egregiously loud in the bedroom when I was playing games. And so the closet was, there's a bathroom attached to that bedroom, and then through the closet was, or through the bathroom was a closet. And it just so happened that I figured out that the computer fit back in the closet, and it allowed me to shut the doors to the bathroom, and it was basically like a soundproof chamber back there. And so I could play video games till all hours of the morning and not have to worry about waking anybody up or disturbing anybody. And so I ended up moving all my stuff back there. And if anybody visited the apartment, it looked, for all intents and purposes, like I just had a normal room, because nobody would ever go back and look in the closet. So, you know, it was kind of like hide the computer back there and then just pretend like, you know, that was, you know, nothing through the bathroom, and then, you know, deceive all the people that were.
From what we saw in the film, you had all your networking cables running into the closet. Nobody asked, "Hey, what's all this?"
Nobody comes in and fucking studies my room, man. They just pop
It's
their head in.
not studying. It's just like, "Hey, I noticed you have a router there with cables running into this closet. Why is it closed?"
Could be other cables for other shit. You know, doesn't. I don't know, man. Fuck you. You asked more questions than anybody else did when it came into my room.
Well, yeah, if I was in your room, I'd be asking all sorts of questions, but I'd also be pooping in your bathroom. But that's another thing altogether. So let's start at you joined the guild around between the time of Old War and Trial of Champions, I believe. Is that right?
Correct.
Tell us about what it was like as a trial coming in, and sort of also what made you want to join Blood Legion at the time.
Okay, so I was looking to join Blood Legion mostly because it was kind of a complicated set of circumstances that brought me to Blood Legion. I had originally played on the Archimon server and had been on that server for probably the first 2 years of the game, and had been on a guild that was decent, maybe like top 150 US or something, and that guild broke up, and there were a lot of us that wanted to continue raiding, but you know, not enough that we could find, you know, Archimon's kind of a, you know, backwater shithole, and you can't, you know, replace half a guild there. So we started looking at places that we could transfer to, and it just so happened that the wonderful guild Team Ice was attempting to fill a whole bunch of spots.
I forgot about that. Yeah, you were in Team Ice before Blood Legion.
Correct. And so myself and some other members of the guild I was in previously transferred over to Illidan to raid with Team Ice, and that was shortly before I started law school. I think it was the summer before I started law school. And I was in Team Ice for maybe 2 months before classes started, and I probably raided with them. Like I raided with them through, like I think when I got there, they had just killed Jaden for the first time, and I raided with them for maybe 2 or 3 months of farm mode before whatever that next fucking expansion was. And then I ended up quitting. It was the first semester of law school, and I ended up quitting because I was gonna take law school seriously, and damn it, I was gonna get good grades and study hard, and so I ended up quitting WoW for maybe a year or so, and then after my first year of law school, I realized, you know, fuck this, and so I was going to start raiding again, and I ended up picking back up with some of my buddies on Archimon, and we raided for a while through most of Old War, and then that guild kind of died again, and so I started looking for a replacement guild, and by that point I was kind of close to quitting the game at that point. Like I had debated just stopping with everyone else that was in my old guild and calling it quits. And but I figured, you know, because I just gotten the Healing Mace Legendary, and I was like, you know, God damn it, I worked hard for this, and this is a cool weapon. I'm not just going to sit on this thing during its relevant life. And so I applied to Blood Legion because they had been, you know, at this point, Team Ice was demonstrably worse than they were when I joined, and Blood Legion was having just had some a substantive amount of turnover in its roster, owing to Yogg Zero burning out a bunch of people.
Yep.
And so there was an opening for a Holy Paladin in Blood Legion. I was like, well, you know, I still have a few friends on Illidan, and Blood Legion always seemed like a pretty legit guild, and I've heard good things about it. So I figured I'd give it one last shot. I think it was as much to see. At that point, I didn't necessarily consider myself like a top-tier raider. And so it was much to see, you know, hey, can I cut it in a guild like Blood Legion? And, you know, I figured, you know, what the hell, let's give it one last shot. And so I ended up joining right around, like I think I transferred over right on the day that Yogg Zero got nerfed and everyone killed him. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be in for that kill. So I didn't get that baller title. It was Death's Demise, whatever.
Yeah, back before they were. I think that was. No, I think the Lich King was the last one. Where because Realm First achievements are now part of the guild. It's not on your character anymore. But yeah, I mean that's actually an interesting time for you to come in, mainly because Yogg Zero finishing sort of closed the book on Ulduar for the guild. There was a lot of ups and downs for the guild at that point. Like you said, there was a mass exodus of players, and which produced, you know, Holy Paladin spot for you. What's really, I haven't been in the situation until now, and I want to know what your take was on this. Joining a guild and having to learn encounters you hadn't done, because you hadn't done the hard modes of Ulduar, from what I understand, and you're essentially learning hard mode Ulduar in an environment where everyone's sort of top players, top 10 players, and everything to them is like everything's on farm. They're bringing in alts to get gear or whatever. What was that like for you as a trial, sort of having to adjust so drastically to that environment?
Just fucking awful. Like when I joined Blood Legion, they had just made like I think they had just nerfed Pallies or something, and it was like all the spells cost more mana, and I can't remember what exactly it was, but it was something where the Paladin community was wondering, like, is this going to change the way that we, you know, like our spell rotation, we have to switch up what we're doing. So there was like some upheaval in the Holy Paladin community about how we should be healing stuff, and it was, you know, a lot more difficult to be mana efficient at that point. And, you know, I'm coming in doing fights like Algalon, where you're just spamming nonstop, and, you know, it was like, you know, you could do this prior to when I joined. That was a feasible way to heal this fight, but now you're going to go if you try to do this shit. So A, I'm trying to prove myself in a bunch of fights where, you know, I haven't done the hard mode, everyone else has, so I'm the only one screwing up. B, there's been a fairly major change to my class, so I'm trying not only to learn all these fights, but also figure out how to relearn how to heal and catch up with the changes that have been made. And then lastly, I had decided before I joined Blood Legion that if I was going to get in Blood Legion, it was going to be based on skill alone. I wasn't going to try to suck up to anyone or like be that, you know, that friendly app that like tries to be all nice with people so that you don't want to cut them. So I didn't talk to anybody, and I wasn't trying to be, you know, buddy with any of the members. It was kind of like log on, raid, log off, go do PvP, something, whatever. But you know, I didn't talk with people, so nobody liked me. I was fucking up on the regular. And I was trying to relearn how to play my class. And so, you know, it was like every day I'd get my ass chewed out in the raids because there's just, you know, it's like trying to do like the hard mode achievements, you know, and Ulduar's hard mode achievements were, you know, as difficult as anything that's been released. And so, yeah, it was really, you know, Blood Legion had gotten used to the Paladin prior, Razor, and you know, he'd been a very good Paladin, and, you know, they'd never had any concerns about the Paladin healing. And then all of a sudden you replace me, or you place him with me, and I'm trying to learn the fights and figure out how, the changing paladin play style, and wasn't trying to be nice to anybody, and it just all combined. I was very surprised when I passed my trial, and it got extended. Typically, the Blood Legion trial period is a month. I think mine got extended to like a month and a half or 2 months before I ended up getting accepted.
Right.
But yeah, it was. If anyone thinks that joining, that like the horror stories you hear about some of the top guilds like hazing the new members, if you think any of that stuff is exaggerated, it's not. Like a lot of guys in Blood Legion, I mean, you get to a point where you see enough trials come and go that you just don't want to get attached to them. It's like everyone's had 1 or 2 trials that have been in their guild where it's like you got to be friends with them and you were absolutely sure they were going to make the trial. Then they ended up sucking and you felt really bad and you agreed that they had to go, but you kind of secretly wish there was some way you could keep them around, and then they get cut and you feel like shit. And like at some point you're just like, you know what? It's not worth it. Like I'm going to assume that every guy that joins this guild is a dick and sucks at the game. And if they end up proving me wrong, awesome. I love being pleasantly surprised. If they end up being really awful and also kind of a douche, then whatever. Like that was what I expected. On to the next. And it's it's like a defense mechanism, and it kind of keeps you from being emotionally vulnerable. But it's I think it's necessary after a while. If you get, we had a former raider in Blood Legion, a man named Rutso. And he would get, God bless him.
Oh, man.
He fell in love with every app that came through the door. And after a while, every, recruitment thread is just Rutso making excuses for these guys just, over and over. And, oh, no, it's not his fault. We didn't communicate what his job was. Or, no, man, his healing rotation was screwed up. Or, it's a new fight. And it's just, after a while, you get tired of it. And it's like, no, man, like, the reason he screwed up is because he sucks. We have, 15 guys waiting to take his spot. Kick this guy out of the guild. And yeah, so I mean, it's tough being a trial in a new guild. Like they'll make it hard on you for good reason. And if you can survive that, it's like the instant I made member, it's just boom, instantly everyone is super chill. Once you're one of the members, then people can start liking you. They can get comfortable having you, they're not worried that you're going to get cut the next day. And then you start joining in, making fun of the next new guy, and just like clockwork, man.
Yeah. I mean, I have such a different perspective now. I mean, I understood your situation. You had never done hard modes. You're trying to learn the hard modes while everyone's sort of watching you, scrutinizing every little thing that you can do, because they're not even worried about what they need to do, because for them it's like second nature at this point. They've done everything so much. And that I completely forgot about the paladin changes. You're right, because you're dealing with paladin changes where they can't just drown someone in heals, basically. And it was just a tough situation. But things worked out, and obviously you made it in on your skill. And when we did on to the next instance, it's a fresh start. Trial at Crusader. Now, what was it like for you doing that? You're essentially learning fights with everybody. How was that compared to when you first started? And what did you think of that instance?
Well, TOC basically got me into Blood Legion, because if the decision-making criteria rested solely on my performance in Old Dwar, I would have never made it to Blood Legion. It was luckily we started doing TOC maybe like a week or two before I ended up passing the trial, and it was, first off, TOC wasn't a super difficult instance, but also the fact that I was able to learn the fights along with everyone else. And I think we had more new members at that point, like extra guys that were also new to the guild. And so it was just like in those fights, it wasn't that I stood out as playing particularly well. It was just that, and that's kind of the thing, is like as a healer, it's difficult to do that. A healer during a trial kind of wants to be like a referee in a sporting event, which is like you're doing your job if no one knows you're there. It's like as long as no one has any comments on the healing, congratulations, you did everything you were supposed to. And so it was like, the first couple of times we went through TOC, nobody had anything negative to say about me, and it was like, oh, okay, well this guy, can do all the shit we need him to do. Right. And so it was like once I got the foot in the door with the new bosses in TOC, then it was kind of like, okay, well maybe we didn't give him a fair shake in Old Dwar. It looks like he's working out. in TOC, and it was kind of all downhill from there. So um, it was an opportunity to show that I had, when put in on a similar playing field, that I was equally as good as any of the other healers we had. As for an instance, TOC was the best, man. I love that instance. Like, it had all of the features that an instance needs to have.
Yeah,
it has one room, no trash, a respawn point that's like 2 feet away from the door, and it even had a fucking tabard that took you right to the instance. Like, you could
yeah, that's right.
And click on the tabard, boom, you're right in front of the instance. There were only like 5 bosses in there, and it was just like, that place was perfect. Like, there was no storyline. They weren't trying to keep me interested with, some stupid bullshit that no one cares about. We're gonna march some bosses. We're gonna march some bosses out this door. You're gonna kill them. We're gonna march some more bosses out the door. Eventually, the floor is gonna drop away. It's gonna blow your mind. By the way, that was like the coolest thing that ever happened in an instance up to that point. Like, that floor disappearing, and you just go plummeting. Not to mention, like, the troll factor was like through the roof because of that. Because of the water underneath, like the ability to put whatever that frost, whatever stuff.
The DKs could do frost, Path of Frost, and shaman could use water walking. And they
the best. There was not a week that went by where you didn't see at least 2 corpses in that pool from people that went AFK during the little transition period from Twin Valves to New Barak. Like, somebody would go get something to eat. He would get water walking put on him, and he would be laying there in the water when he came back. And that was, like, to me, that instance just had everything. I loved it. You could get in and out of there in, like, one night. And it even had the Immortal achievement. Like, so there was, like, something that kind of kept you going. It's like they got rid of those types of achievements, and that was boring because at some point, there's nothing left to motivate you. But with that Immortal achievement, it was kind of like every time you go in there, it's like, well, all this shit may be really easy, but god damn it, we still don't have, I don't even remember what they gave you, a wolf or something. I think it was a wolf. And
the Immortal gave you the warhorse. You could actually see us all together on the warhorses in some of these pictures.
Yeah, it was the warhorse.
Yeah, that was cool. That's pretty interesting. Well, yeah, I it's funny you like that instance. It's there's no trash, which is beautiful. Yeah, it's just 5 quick bosses. You get in, you get out. It's just the part of raiding everyone likes, which is the bosses. It's just, here's 5 bosses, boom, let's just do it. It's also interesting to me that when you say, yeah, there's no story behind it, whatever, but there's kind of like an underlying story for you, I guess, where in the instance dubbed the Trial of the Champion or Trial of the Crusader, whichever the 25-man was, where it's essentially Horde and Alliance proving themselves to be worthy to battle the Lich King or whatever. You proved yourself to the guild in that arena. That's where some of basically you sort of shined out. So there you go.
You're a fucking nerd. You are a nerd.
Now that it's in your brain and you can't get it out. So yeah, and then so Trial was a lot of fun, but so then going from that into a more traditional instance with Ice Crown. What did you think about that when you went from your favorite instance into an instance that's full of lore, full of stories, full of trash? I know you love trash and interesting stuff. So what was that? What did you think about Ice Crown when you were doing that?
Okay. So if TOC is how an instance should be built, Ice Crown is the exact fucking opposite. Hey, this place is like a marathon. Like, in order for you to get to any boss, you have to zone in and then run like forever, like the worst. Secondly, it had so much trash, and because it had rep rewards, not only was there a shitload of trash, but people formed groups just to farm trash over and over and over again. And like, that was awful. It took me, like, literally, it took me a fucking month to get my rep ring because I was like, there's no way I'm sitting in here farming this shit over and over. Like, that's not happening. I don't care who yells at me in the guild about being lazy. I'm not sitting in here for like 8 hours just burning through this stuff. I would rather quit than do this. As far as the storyline goes, I have no idea what happened in ICC. I couldn't tell you. All I know is Lich King's up at the top of it, and we smoke his ass. And I mean, the fights in ICC were, like decent. None of them really stood out. I will have to say that it had my favorite boss mechanic in the game on whatever that green dragon was that you had to heal.
Oh yeah, well you gotta the Dreamwalker, whatever. Maybe someone in chat knows, um, where you're supposed to heal him. The healers are essentially the DPS. They're the reasons why the fight's gonna get finished because you gotta heal the dragon up. And what the healers have to like go down or Valiona. There you go, Valonia. I think it's Valiona. Sorry, Valrithia. Yeah, no, it says the same thing. But anyway, whatever. You guys know what that is. And you need to go down there and like collect the balls and stuff. What did you? Were you good at the ball collecting? You good at collecting balls, bro?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm a ball collector. If you look at me, you know I'm a ball collector. And that was actually it was a fight made for paladins, just because you have like one of the best single target heals in the game, so you just run around, grab all your buffs, and then you just come out and you like drop your lay on hands, and you have someone bloodlust you, and you just bomb. Oh, and we had whatever Alan's stupid monkey pet was. We'd have it stand next to the boss.
Oh, yeah, the crab buff. Or bear or
he was a gorilla, I believe.
Gorilla, yeah.
Well, maybe there was a crab. I don't know.
There's the crab. It was the tanking pet that got more healing onto it, and then you would like beacon. Well, yeah, you would beacon a dragon or something, and there was
beacon a dragon. Well, and you'd get the splat. It was like the extra healing wouldn't bounce to the beacon target, but the splash from the holy light glyph would get the buff from the healing buff on the pet, and so you'd bomb on the pet and you'd get the extra splash from holy light plus the beacon whatever, and then you drop lay on hands and bloodlust and go nuts. And yeah, it was like the one fight in the game where healers finally got to like whip their dongs out and show everyone what to do.
I know when I played my healer role, I was terrible at that, so I have a tremendous amount of respect for you for being able to do that well. Like, people would be like, oh, there's a monkey. I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. Like, whatever. But yeah, Icecrown was actually a good time for the guild also. As a lot of people know, we got the world first normal Lich King kill. And I know it's not the hard mode or whatever, but that was still a good time for us. What did you think about that when we got the first Lich King kill? What was that? What did you feel?
Okay, well, to be fully honest, I was like 0% involved in the first kill. We had a collection of, I can't remember what they called themselves, but it was like the hardcore group or something. And it was people who were interested in raiding like 37 hours a day. And they do like the normal raids and then form a 10-man and go do all the other bosses when we weren't raiding. And so I was not in that group, and wasn't, I kept track of what they were doing, but, I wasn't super up to date with their progress. And I remember when they killed him, I was kind of like, oh, I didn't even realize we had anybody doing this. And, but yeah, I mean, as far as, being, the high points of the guild, like I'm pretty sure that if you go back and look on our forums, the most visitors ever at one time is like February of whenever that was. It was like that night. It was like the number of people coming to our forums to look at, the guild that killed Lich King first. And, anything that gets you written up in, what was it, Wired or PC Mag or whatever the hell.
Well, yeah, Wired had a small snippet about it, I think.
Yeah, and so, it was like, and, the however many million views the video got. And so, it was definitely a high watermark in BL's history. And at the time, we had been placing like 10th-ish in the world on a lot of the bosses. And so Blood Legion, we weren't bad, but we were definitely not, in the discussion of top, 3 guilds or anything. So for us to get a kill like that, where, such a historic moment in the game, obviously the most identifiable boss to the casual Warcraft fan, to be the first guild that killed that. Even though I wasn't on the kill, I was very proud of the guild and super excited for that recognition, and being associated with that moment was definitely something that will, 50 years from now, there may not be a whole lot of things people remember about Warcraft, but I think that, the first Lich King kill would be at the top of that list.
Hmm. Now, was it because everyone cared about Arthas that you liked that a lot, or did it matter to you that the story aspect of it was there, or what did you find it important because other people found it important?
I found it like the you could almost sum up the entirety of my experience in WoW by saying that I found important what other people found important. Like, I enjoyed PvP because there was a certain level of respect for people that were good PvPers. Like having the ability to be a gladiator, and to a greater extent, a rank 1 gladiator. It was like I didn't really care about Battlegrounds because nobody cared about Battlegrounds. It was like, what, you could be Battleground King, but nobody gives a shit. And similarly, it was like I enjoy 10-mans like more than 25-mans, especially from a healing perspective. It's just the responsibility on a healer and a 10-man is a lot more varied and enjoyable, I think. But I don't care about 10-mans because nobody cares about 10-mans. And so, a lot of the reason I rated and did things in Warcraft generally was because I liked being good at things that other people were interested in. Mm-hmm. And so it was that kind of criteria. It was like, well, what do I want to be good at in WoW? Well, what do people care about? Like, what are the things people, because the things people care about are the things that you get the most competition for. And so being the best at something people care about is pretty much going to mean that you were the best at whichever things had the most competition.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you ever get to do Sartharion, the 3 Drake stuff? Because that was actually a time when everybody cared about the 10-man. The 10-man 3 Drake was actually a more coveted kill than the 25-man version when Wrath first came out. Is that something that you ever dabbled in when you were playing with the other people?
No, that was back when I was playing again with the guys I had started with, and we screwed around with it after it had been, maybe like a month after the kill or whatever, when sort of the more casual guilds were getting around to it. I actually remember following the progress of that a little bit more because, my former guild, Team Ice, was fairly good at the 10-man 3 Drake. And so that was kind of when I had gone back to Archimond, there were several people that knew that I had been in Team Ice, and so that was kind of I was like, hey, I was in that guild, yeah, what's up? But no, that wasn't anything that I was really involved in myself.
Mm-hmm. Now, you obviously did a lot of hardcore raiding with us, pushing the Ice Crown progression, doing Trial of Champions, Immortal, or whatever. But another big love of yours was the PvP in WoW. What was that like for you? Tell us about your PvP ventures.
Okay, so PvP, looking back on it, I have no fucking idea why I PvP'd, because there's nothing in my life that has ever made me more pissed off than arenas. Like, it was just, I derived like a fair amount of satisfaction from it, but the highs from arena never came close to matching the lows from arena. Like, when I would get angry at that shit, it would be like, that was half the reason I was hanging out in the closet at the last place I lived, is because at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'd be queuing with like Johnny, and we'd lose some match and we'd drop 15 points. And when we were close to like number 1, we dropped those 15 points, and I'd just like let out some like girlish scream because I'd be so fucking pissed. And then if we'd win a match, it was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, yeah, well, we should have won, so whatever. And so, yeah, in hindsight, like, I mean, it was fun to do arenas, but it was definitely like unhealthy how angry I would get. But what I liked about arenas was that it was small. It was like typically 3-on-3 was kind of where the most action was, and so it really presented a much different play style than raiding. It was in raiding, you pick the one thing your class is good at, and you just do that a lot. It's like if you're back in the day, if you were a Holy Paladin, you were an awesome tank healer, so you healed the shit out of the tank. If you were a Warlock, you were good at AoE damage, so you did a crapload of AoE damage. Whereas in Arena, it's like you need to be able to do a bunch of different things. And so it was almost like two different games, Raiding and Arena, and there was a lot more individual focus in Arena than there was in Raiding. And so it was, it felt like you determined the outcome of an Arena match much more than you did a 25-man encounter. So it was just kind of a change of pace, and I enjoyed doing both things for different reasons. But
yeah, I mean, I was always drawn to Arena players personally as a, raid leader trying to get more players to play, because I knew the Arena people who were able to succeed in the Arena would be able to, have a good grasp on their class, situational awareness, whatever. The only, I guess, hurdle would be dealing with how much time we have to put in to the game to get to do the rating or whatnot. If you had to pick one of the other, which would you rather do if you had to sacrifice one?
Arena. I mean, raiding, like, I enjoyed the camaraderie of raiding, I think, as much as anything. I enjoyed hanging out with like 24, well, maybe like, I enjoyed maybe hanging out with like 19 of them. Mm-hmm. And then the other 5 were shitheads. But I enjoyed that, kind of, it was like similar to like football practice back in like high school, which is like, football practice sucks ass. Nobody likes doing it. But the second you stop football practice, you miss it, because it was, you had your own group of friends there, and sort of a familiar routine, and you just get comfortable with that. And so as much as anything, raiding was kind of like a safety blanket, security blanket, whatever the hell they call it, because it was just, it was like you'd come home from whatever you were doing during the day, and you'd have maybe like 30 minutes or an hour to get ready, make dinner, do something. Then you sit down and raid all night. And I may not have enjoyed the stuff that we were raiding. I may not have been in a particularly good mood, but, I was hanging out with the same people. It was kind of, it was like my family. And so it was a comfortable environment. And now, that was the hardest thing about leaving raiding, was leaving the people. But as far as enjoying like the activities I was doing, like Arena hands down was more fun. It's just, there's to me much more of a rush, I guess, to Arena, and part of it is the way that Arena is head-to-head matchup. So it's like at the end of a match, you're either better or worse than someone. When you're raiding, you can go by order of who killed which bosses how fast, and use that as a proxy to measure which guild was best. But at no point do the two guilds literally go head-to-head and fight each other. It's just you both try to race to finish something. Whereas when I'm in the Arena and I beat someone's ass, I can then look them up on Arena Junkies and immediately talk trash and say, like, I am better than you. I beat you in an arena. I stood over your corpse and spit on you.
Wow.
So
Brutal.
Yeah, it was a little more satisfying, I guess.
Yeah, I can imagine. Do you ever so obviously I personally have some gladiator experience. As we all know, my warlock is a gladiator.
As we all know.
As we all know. We actually got a chance to play together a little bit in season 8, I believe. What was that like? Sort of almost like, because your PvP guys outside of maybe Johnny were essentially a separate group, and then you had your raiding group. What was it like? Where like I think it was me, you, and Johnny. You had a pure Blood Legion team doing arenas. How was that? And also, if you could comment on how terrible I was, or good, whatever.
Okay, so to set the stage, so we've got all Blood Legion members. So first thing what that means is that we are all decked out in the flyest PvE. So, right off the bat, we've got an advantage of like anybody else that walks to the arena, because we've got, all of our nerdy trinkets and like any of the good like off pieces that you need to be using, like all the, like tier 2 weapons that are just absolutely wrecking kids. So, and then we played, I believe the setup was referred to as the African Turtle Cleat,
Yeah.
which was Holy Paladin, I think Marks Hunter, and a Protection Warrior. And so at this point in time, Protection Warriors were pretty fucking broken in arenas, and their shield slam would, if you had like the appropriate amount of block on your shield, which you could really only get from PvE gear because no PvP gear had that. It was like the only way you got that was it was almost like in order to be an effective prot warrior, you had to be involved in PvE. And so of course Eric's got all of the best prot gear, and so Eric, I would say you were definitely an above average PvPer, but because of all, because you're armed to the teeth with all this, it's like we'd walk into these arenas and there'd be somebody who, like, in full PvP gear, with like 500 resilience or whatever. It was like you would charge them, they'd get hit with whatever the Hunter Mortal Strike is. You'd like shield slam them once and then hit them with Shockwave, and Johnny, bring the thunder, and that person would fall over like 2 seconds later. And I think we managed to do that, like win a surprising number of games. Because if I remember right, we kind of had to rush at the end of the season to boost your rating up to get you into Gladiator range, but it was not an immense amount of time needed to do that. Moved up the ranks pretty quick.
Yeah, I thank you guys for that, for playing with me. I really was hoping it wasn't too unbearable. I don't know, because obviously I didn't PvP as much as you guys, and I don't think I'm good enough to be one of the rank 1 players. But apparently you are. What was that like? You actually, which season was it? Or how many seasons?
Season 8.
It was season 8?
It was season 8. And it was in 5s, which is kind of like cheating. Like, I don't, it's like getting rank 1 was nice, but since it was in 5s, it kind of feels like it has an asterisk next to it. And we ran, I mean, to some extent, every setup in 5s is kind of cheesy, but we ran a 4 DPS team that was, I think at the end of the season, our record was like 270-3 or something.
Right.
Like just some astronomical win-loss ratio. And it was basically like we had a bunch of good players on the team that had good gear. And when you had 4 DPS, there was maybe only like one other team out there who we ended up tying with. One other team out there who could like even stand a chance at beating us. Every other game was over in like 20 seconds. Mm-hmm. So as far as, you could take the stance that, rank 1 is rank 1 is rank 1, and, any rank 1 is just as impressive as any of the other rank 1s. But that one was not a rank 1 that I felt was particularly impressive. But I was more proud of the season we had in 3s that season, because we did manage to take number 1 at various points before we had another team overtake us. Yeah, and I think that was part. It was after season 8. I think I really started to lose interest in WoW. It's kind of like getting rank 1 was sort of the last goal I had for myself. It was sort of the last. Short of like being the number 1 guild in the world, which I knew wasn't going to happen in any guild I was in, because I was never going to raid that much. Mm-hmm. It was kind of like the last sort of achievable thing for me to do was get rank 1, and once I did that, I was kind of like, bucket list has been, all items have been crossed off. You're now free to retire with no regrets. So that was probably kind of the beginning of the end of my playing time of WoW.
Mm-hmm. And so tell us about that. Sort of, obviously, the documentary talked about how, the guilds continually strive to reach the top spot in rating. And let me see how it is. So tell us about sort of when you sort of drifted away from rating and what you're doing now, and like what happened, so people know what's going on with you.
All right, so, following Season 8, whichever tier that was, Tier 10, the expansion came out for Cataclysm, and it was right around the time Cataclysm was coming out. I was heading into finals for the fall semester of my 3rd year in law school, and so I was really busy studying and wasn't participating much in beta. and really had like no idea what a lot of the fights were, like what was happening in any of the fights. And so we get into Cataclysm, and I think like finals actually happened on like the first week of the release, Cataclysm. So Blood Legion went through the normal modes and killed everything, and I wasn't involved in any of those fights. So then I come in the next week on hard modes, and I had done like no research. I did not know what items dropped in there and what I should be trying to pick up. I really had no idea how any of the bosses worked. And just a totally lazy piece of shit. Like I, brought absolutely nothing to the table as far as preparation. And so a lot of these fights were kind of frustrating for me because everyone else had a pretty good idea what the mechanics were. And I mean, there were some like what was the fight the instant or whichever dungeon had Alakir in it.
Oh man, yeah, Throne of the Four Winds.
Yeah,
I remember you particularly disliked that fight.
I did not and never did and will never have any idea what the hell was happening on that first boss.
Right.
Like the only way I was able to do that fight was if I had a babysitter who healed with me, and if I just like put my hand in their pocket and then they said, all right, Grunz, it's time to go to the next platform. And I'd be like, okay. And then we'd both go run and jump to the next platform. And if that person died, I was so fucked because I had no idea what was going to happen, like, beyond that. Like, I didn't know where to stand, what was going to happen, like, what any of the boss abilities were, what I should be looking out for, when to pop cooldowns. It was like, I needed to have someone walk me through the entire fight. And at no point in between the first time I did that fight and, like, the next, like, 10 times I did that fight, did I have any more of a clue what was going on than I did that first time I was in there. And it was kind of like that for a lot of them. I mean, there were some bosses that were more straightforward that I picked up after a fair amount of time of doing the boss. But, I was just, it was kind of at that point that it was like, I knew that I wasn't really having fun raiding. And more importantly, I was like actively detracting from the guild. It was like, I knew I needed to quit both for my own benefit, but also because I was setting a bad example for the guild. And I was enough of a veteran that nobody was going to call me on it, and I knew that, and so I was taking advantage of it. And so it was very much, I needed to stop raiding at that point for everyone's sake. But yeah, I mean, definitely in the tier 11, it was just like I couldn't tell you. I mean, I still couldn't tell you like what any of the items were. It was like I was continually discovering new items in that instance, like as they would drop, like 6 weeks into raiding, something would drop and be like, oh damn, I had no idea that even existed. Yeah, I should probably get that.
Yeah.
And it was around that time that I think Blood Legion really started to make the, shortly after that tier, I think Blood Legion started to kind of weed out some of the more casual raiders. And I was definitely voluntarily on that list. I was just not bringing the kind of effort that you need to have, or the kind of intensity and playtime that was needed for being in a top tier guild. And I knew it as soon as it happened and walked away when I needed to. I don't really have any regrets about when I left, and I think that anyone who was paying attention to to my situation specifically probably knew that was coming sooner rather than later.
All right. Well, so what are you doing nowadays? Because you were in law school. I don't know how you juggled law school and raiding, by the way. But so since then, it's been about a year, I guess. What have you been up to nowadays?
So I got a job.
Lame.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yep, years just got cut in half right there. Nobody wants to hear about this shit. Nobody wants to hear about being a grown up.
Done.
I got a job at a company that does business process outsourcing for insurance firms. I won't even try to explain what the hell that means because I'm still figuring it out.
I'm not gonna pretend I even know what that means.
Nor I. I do contract administration for them, so I help with kind of coordinate the legal department and the business folks and get agreements negotiated and ironed out. And so it's been, I get to use my law degree. I'm not an attorney, but it's an opportunity to work with attorneys, drafting language in the agreements, and but also not have like those big boy responsibilities that an attorney would have. So I get to kind of live best of both worlds.
Okay. And do you do you miss if you could rate again? Obviously, you're working now, and definitely the amount of time needed to do what we do is like ridiculous. Um, what would you ever consider doing it again?
You know, if there, you know, if let's say we fast forward 20 years and you know, you can now make like a living rating, and you know, you sponsor and get paid like a salary, and you could live off of just rating. Yeah, I'd probably come back and rate it. Rating's more fun than, you know, a job. Um, but as far as trying to balance rating and other things, it was just um, it's so, you know, it's so difficult to be willing to
Hold on
make.
one sec. I think people are saying audio is messed up. Is it okay now? Check, check, check. Here. Okay, I think we're good now.
Uh, um,
Whoa. Okay. All right. Yeah. Sorry to cut you off. Just the audio was messed up for people. I'm gonna mute my mic for my dog's barking.
yeah, go beat that dog, man. Like that thing
No.
needs to shut the hell up. Go
It's
throw that
feeding
thing at
time.
a
It's
wall.
hungry. It needs to get food. So, but yeah. Uh, but yeah. So what did you enjoy like your time at BlizzCon meeting everyone, things
Yeah,
like
that was
that?
by far the best part. Like, you know, if I had to pick one memory from Blood Legion, you know, hands down, it was hanging out at BlizzCon. Like that was uh, so much fun, and meeting everybody, and just being able to hang out. And like you know, even if there was no convention, that was my least favorite part was the convention. That place sucked. The beers were expensive, and you know, it was like
Nice.
I didn't care about anything that was going on. It was basically like, let's kill some time till everyone stops, you know, being at the convention. Then we can all go get drunk in a hotel room. And you know, it was like definitely the time I spent at BlizzCon. Uh, you know, I have more memories from those like 2 days than I do from, you know, a year's worth of content rating. It was, yeah, I, absolutely, you know, 100%. I would go to BlizzCon every year that they had it. Um, and it was, you know, I'd recommend it to anybody who was thinking about going. And I was sad to hear that they were cutting it back to every other year or whatever they're doing with it now.
So talking about obviously good times with hanging out with people, drinking and whatnot. Uh, Now there's something a lot of people have seen that I wonder if you actually remember. It's this picture here of when you valiantly fought a door while we were at the hotel. What can you remember about that?
Yeah, so let me tell you what other people told me about it, because what I remember from that picture is not much. From what I could tell, that little prick Itharn decided it would be funny to open a door into my head and take pictures and laugh about it. And I mean, I'll be honest, I would have done the same thing to anybody else who was passed out in a chair. Um, so yeah, it was funny. And you know, if nothing else, I like the picture because I feel like it was my beard at about the longest I let it ever get.
Yeah, it was
Um,
pretty long.
so it was a good documentation. Like you get a good look at the beard there, um, and the face I'm making there is appropriately, like I feel like it matches the beard pretty well. Um, so it was, you know, it's got good sentimental value as far as, you know, showcasing my facial hair. I do appreciate that, you know, that it was documented like that. And I didn't have any like bruises or anything, I don't think, the next day. So, you know, no harm, no foul. Um, but yeah, when I found out, and unfortunately, I only found out who did it like once I got back from BlizzCon. Had I known who had done it in advance, there would have been, I don't know, something, revenge. Maybe I would have pissed in his clothes or something.
Hey, sorry, yeah. So that time was good. Sorry, I was muting for my dog. Uh, the documentary was a good time. BlizzCon was amazing. I loved hanging out with you. I actually remember telling John I remember dropping off at the airport, and one of the things that killed me was like, you know, here I am just sort of hanging out with Grunz, dropping off at the airport like it's nothing, but then knowing in the back of my mind, who knows when I'll ever see this guy again?
I mean, you
Because
cried.
yeah, I cried. I was weeping like a little baby girl. But yeah, you're a big part of the guild, and it was a privilege raiding with you. It's just unfortunate, sort of like I tell people all the time. There's progress and friends or whatever. The guild collectively wanted more progress, and when you start wanting to do that, you know, people who've been in the guild, people who've contributed to getting you to where you are today or back then, might not be able to commit or put in the hours or whatnot, or real life gets in the way, and it's just another one of those situations. Um, is there anything you want to say to anybody before we sort of go to chat and like see what type of questions people have?
Um, let's see. I don't know, man. Like, if it's one of those things. I looking back, I don't think I ever really enjoyed raiding. I
Mm-hmm.
think I did it because it was an accomplishment, and it was a means of displaying your EPing.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure that I ever really enjoyed doing any of the fights. Um, and that's probably like the nerdiest thing is that I raided and I don't think I ever even really liked it. Like, God bless those guys that can raid like 14 hours a day and love every minute of it and come in on like 7 different alts and, love every minute of each one of their alts and, spend more time on their 7th alt than I spent, on my main. Like that to me is like, if you enjoy doing that, then, God damn it, do that. Like, do that, enjoy it, and don't let anybody tell you differently. I really feel like I was the fake guy for doing all this rating, and I didn't even like it. Like I don't know why the fuck I did it. That's so
Right.
stupid. But if you like it, then be good at it. Like then fucking do it. And I still I have like much respect for the guys that are still in Blood Legion. Like I don't care what kind of lifestyle you lead, like being able to invest yourself that much into anything, like whether it's a video game or a career um, or a relationship, like being able to do anything that much is impressive. Like that takes a level of dedication that I haven't had in my life for anything. And, obviously it gets results and, I have a lot of respect for those guys. I still have several friends in Blood Legion, and it's typically the guys that were the most gung ho about getting world firsts, and so I absolutely wish them the best, and I'm rooting for them to get #1 in all the coming expansions, and they make us Blood Legion vets proud. I would also big shout out to the live raid victory. I was not involved in that, but that was very impressive. And so, yeah, just, I want to thank all the guys that made Blood Legion so fun. I'd name them, but I'm sure shit I'd forget some people. Especially you, Eric. Like, damn it, you were my favorite person in the guild. Chill as hell. I should probably make a trip out to Cali just to hang out. I was pretty bummed when they said they were canceling BlizzCon this year. You need to put together like a little guild meeting.
Yeah, people are like, you got to do a Blood Legion con.
Yeah,
We really could
absolutely.
organize
I would
something.
be down for that shit.
Well, yeah. So, thanks so much for giving us your time. Let's go to the chat. If you guys have any questions for Grunz, let me know. We can spend some time answering it. Come to one of the barbecues. I guess one question people would want to know: do you have any plans of playing again? Like maybe checking out Mist when it comes out? Not necessarily, maybe hardcore rating, but sort of maybe checking out the PvP again. I don't think you got to do rated battlegrounds much, did you? When that was
Fuck rated battlegrounds, man. Damn, don't even get me started on rated battlegrounds. What the piece of shit idea. God. Like, Battlegrounds are not fun. And then making them rated, ugh. No, rated Battlegrounds were around when I was there, and I participated in 0 of them. Like, what a joke. Fuck. Next question, please.
Well, didn't you do some of the rated Battlegrounds with the PvP division?
No, I didn't do any rated. If I did maybe like 1.
Right.
Just to find out, like, hey, just double checking, this shit still sucks, right? Yep, okay.
Let's see what kind of questions there are. Grunz, did you play any alts in PvE or PvP, or was it just a paladin?
No, alts are for nerd. No,
alts are for nerds. Everything's stupid. I think we should just get like a quick soundbite for you. Everything's stupid.
I had a shaman that I ended up getting up to 85, I think, at one point, but he was just to fly around and gather herbs, I think. I don't know that I ever did anything on him.
Right. Oh, what about Nuka Bazooka? You almost had a second.
That wasn't my character, but yeah. I entertained playing another paladin to do more arenas on, but that only lasted for like as long as it took me to figure out that I was going to have to do like those like what was the boss that dropped the PvP gear, or the bosses or whatever that place is called.
Wow, I don't. It was a Wintergrass, right?
Yeah, whatever that dude was. Once I realized I was gonna have to go like do that every week on another character, I was like, no dice. Nice. I'll stick with Grunz.
Let's see. People want to know how old you are.
I am 27.
27. Oh, I'm older than you. Will you be playing Diablo 3?
I intended on trying it out. I don't know. It's like I never played Diablo 1 or 2, and whenever somebody, occasionally I have friends that are like, "Hey, we're going back and playing Diablo 2. It's so cool. You should come play." And I'm like, "Yeah, I think I'll just wait till Diablo 3 comes out." But that does sound fun. That sounds like it'd be a lot of fun. And now Diablo 3 is coming around. It's like, I don't know. I'll probably at least buy it. And it's like I bought StarCraft 2, played like 3 times. It's like, yeah, this is just as boring as StarCraft 1 was, but I'll probably at least give it a shot.
Sorry, the dog. Let's see. What's your favorite boss fight specifically? We know your favorite instance is Trial of Champions, but if you had to take one boss that doesn't have to involve trash or anything, what's your take?
Oh, it would probably be some boss where I liked what was the dude at the very first boss at TOGC? He's like a Yeti or some shit.
Oh,
Ice House, is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked him because of that mechanic at the end of the fight where he'd throw everyone against the wall and then charge them. Because there's nothing more fun than a fight that has a mechanic that singles out one player, and if that player dies, then it fucks the whole raid.
Yeah.
Like, that is the best. Like, there's never any more angst in a guild, and like massive amounts of trolling and just laughing at people in a fight like that. And that remains fun well into farm mode, because you can fuck that fight up at any time. Like, I mean, that's a fight, or fights like that. It's like you could screw that up even 2 months into farm mode. And to have a fight like that, just nonstop fun. Like, those are the best fights. I don't know if I could pick any of them out specifically. Or like Lich King was kind of the same way.
Well, you didn't mention the Dreamwalker, the Green Dragon you liked a lot.
Yeah, that one was fun just because it was like the first time where you could like legitimately point to the meters and be like, look how good I am. Actually, I enjoyed like all the fights in Kata from a class perspective, because they finally changed up pallies, so you had a whole bunch of tools and you could compete on the meters. And like, I don't care what anybody says. If you are a person who subscribes to the idea that meters don't matter if you're a healer, then don't speak to me. Like, just fucking don't even talk to me. Like, oh, that is so ignorant. They matter. Like, I don't know if anyone's aware of how healing gets done, but somebody has to do it. And if you're doing more of it, it's probably better than less of it. And if the only thing you're looking at is meters, then yeah, you're probably missing the bigger picture. But there are a lot of fights that just became big-ass AoE healing fest. And if you're doing more of it than the next guy, you're doing a better job. So anyway, yeah, any fights that were in Cataclysm where I got to flex my muscles with my new paladin healing spells, I also enjoyed those fights. Like Magma, that was like a pally fight, man. Like, that thing was set up to have like massive AoE damage on a 30-second timer, so I could like Radiance on cooldown and just absolutely crushed the meters. It was the best, man. I love that fight. We wiped on it, and I was happy every time we wiped, because it was another opportunity for me to be awesome.
And you are awesome. Let's see what other things we have. Oh, you got to. So you, what do you think of Rig? A lot of people are asking. Because he
Rig
joined
is
around the near the end of what you were doing, so you still got to do some stuff with
yeah.
him.
Okay, so little known fact, Rig literally swore fealty to me when he joined the guild. He said, Grunz, I will follow you for the rest of my life. I pledged it was like some dorky shit, like I pledged my sword to you. And he was absolutely my bitch. And then we played for a while, and Rig got all big in the britches and shit. If I ever came back to raiding, the first thing I'm doing is cutting that dude back down to size. That is the first thing. Who is boss? Like what the deal is there? And no, like Rig, God bless him. Like that dude was sort of the focal point of Blood Legion's turnaround, and really instituted. I think what most people would describe as sort of the military style, and he brought accountability back to Blood Legion. I think it had been lacking to some extent, and I stumped for him to get in the guild as much as anyone, and I absolutely think he's been a great addition to Blood Legion's roster. He and I are good friends, even if his choice in sports teams is like borderline laughable, but he's a guy that I totally trusted him in a leadership position, and I don't think that the success Blood Legion's had could have been more deserved than by a guy like Rig, and he's he and the rest of the guys have absolutely earned it, and I wish him all the luck in the future.
Yeah, he definitely brought accountability. Bringing accountability back was a big one. That's definitely one thing I'm really happy is there. Let's see what else. What we got questions here. Did you get Gladiator in an arena season? More like, did you get Gladiator every arena season is a better question.
Yeah, I think from season 3 to season 8, I had Gladiator.
Okay. Grunt, since you're in Team Ice, was Beaver against you joining BL due to the blacklist he kept against Team Ice ever since the Gong incident? Was Beaver around when you joined? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No. So we'll just skip that. What else we got here? Some guy says he will sponsor you if you play.
I doubt that.
You doubt he'll sponsor you? You doubt he'll play?
Well, first off, it's probably Rootso. It probably involves like dicks. So, first off, I'm skeptical of what exactly that means. But secondly, man, if somebody like seriously, this whole like streaming thing and Blood Legion coming up with ways to like turn this shit into like some kind of branding opportunity, like please do so. Please find a way to turn playing video games into like a profitable enterprise, because if that was the case, I would be back in a heartbeat. And so, yeah, absolutely. Like this whole streaming gig and all the work that's been done to further promote Blood Legion has been. I'm absolutely behind that stuff, because if you guys do all that work and start making money, I will be back mooching in a heartbeat. Trust that I will be back when you guys start making money. I will be the first dude, back in the game when that happens.
Well, maybe you should talk to Rig. Maybe we can get you a stream channel.
Yeah. Watch me. You could get a stream channel of me going to bed at like 9 o'clock.
Let's see. Oh, singing and app jokes. I don't think we do that anymore. I don't know if we did. We did some of that when you were around, right?
No, that was like after I was gone.
Okay, if you were made to make an app joke, what would your joke be?
There's a reason that shit happened after I was gone.
Okay. Do you guys have any more questions for Grunz? Anything you want to know? A lot of people want the beard, man.
I know. Well, add me to that list. I also want the beard. If there's like a temporary beard thing that I could like put on when I left work and then take off in the morning, like if there was something like that, absolutely, I would have a beard in all social moments of my life, but unfortunately, it's not the way facial hair works.
Yeah.
And, hold on, I would like to take Fury 321's question. LeBron is the MVP of the NBA. There are literally no arguments to be made in favor of Kevin Durant, who is a very sweet person, but can go fuck himself. LeBron is the king. Potential husband material. I would definitely marry LeBron in any states where that was legal, and some states where it isn't.
Wow.
Yeah, cannot. It is unequivocal how much I have a man crush.
Wow.
On LeBron
Sorry about
James.
the dog. Let's see. What is this about Dexter managed to get Grunz into BL? Is there something behind that?
I don't know, dude. I think I was here before Dexter was.
What is he talking about? I don't know what's going on. Let's see. Do you have a wife or girlfriend? Are you single?
I am actually single. There was.
Do you want to give out your phone number? Get some dates. Obviously, there are plenty of women watching this.
Anybody who would try to hit on me without my beard is a person I don't want to talk to.
Oh! Grunz is trapped. Oh, man. Hold on. Let me... Here, hopefully that fixed the audio.
No, I'm currently single.
Did you have a crush on anyone in the guild, like Rutsu?
I was trying to think. Do we have anybody that was... I had a crush on Zinni and Eclairs. Those two dudes.
Zinni and Eclairs. Eclairs is right here in chat. Eclairs, how do you feel about that? Grunz having a crush on you. Oh, it's gonna take... He's they're honored. Or he's
honored. It's appropriate. It's an appropriate response.
I think it's the one person. Zeclairs. Yeah, so... Alright, well, it looks like we're done with questions. Again, I appreciate you coming on. Thanks so much for the time, really. It's good to talk to you again.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff I wanted to still go over, but maybe we can do that for another time.
Yeah, Grunz is definitely available for part 2.
For part 2. You should alt-raid with us. It'll be good times. Aries does it.
We'll see about that.
Is there? Yeah, they want to know what if you were to peg odds, if betting odds that you'll play Miss Pandaria, what would be the rate be, the up down or whatever?
Oh, I'm sure I'll buy it and play it. I mean, I don't know if I'll raid it all on it. I'm sure I'll at least pick it up and check it out and see if I develop that itch again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Time will tell.
All right. Well, thanks again, man. I appreciate it. I apologize to not only you but everybody for the technical difficulties. Apparently, I'm learning the limits of this program, and I will hopefully learn from it. And the next time you come on, it won't be as bad. Make sure you guys watch Race the World First. Grunz is a featured player. RaceTheWorldFirst.com. There's a link at the bottom of my Twitch. Make sure you follow. I'm going to be doing some raids today or whatnot, whatever. But yeah, thanks so much, Grunz. I appreciate it, man. You should hop on Mumble, hang out. I don't know what you're doing right now. You still have Mumble?
Yeah, still have it. Just been shy.
Whatever, dude. Yeah, I'm shy. I'm going to do an interview with complete strangers. Anyway. Yeah, hop on Mumble. Let's hop on Mumble. Let's do some of that. So, thanks again. This was the interview. YouTube over, and we'll do other stuff. Thanks, my friend.
My pleasure.
Grunz, everybody. Where is it? There's it. Grunz, everybody. You'll see it in a second. All right, thanks again, man. Jump on Mumble. Do it.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
That's it.